Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about DJI MIC 2. So let's dive deep into it. So what is this puppy? This puppy is a $350 microphone. Be mindful, compared to DJI MIC 1, this puppy is $100 more expensive. Now, in principle, it should be around 30,000 rupees in India, but I'm reasonably sure it might cross 40,000. So let's see. Now, question becomes, why it's such a premium? Well, it is going from 24 to 32-bit float internal recording. 32-bit float is a big deal. However, we'll talk in detail about it in the next slide. But you have to understand, it has two transmitter, one stereo receiver, which is now standard, and it's a really good way of utilizing the stereo capability on microphones. That's good. And it has aluminum case with locking system. A lot of people complained about the previous case design. While the case was good and amazing, but if you dropped it, it will like bleh. Everything either will break or splatter out everything. So it is aluminum case, so it should last a bit longer, and it has a latching mechanism, so it should not like oops. So that's the whole point. And here's the deal: what if you do not need it? What if all you need is something like that can record audio in good quality, like a 32-bit audio recorder? Well, you can buy one of those puppy at around $100. I do not know the price of that in India as of now. And it also, on top of that, while it is a 8GB 32-bit internal recorder, it also has Bluetooth transmission, meaning if you have an Android or iPhone or certain action cams, you can just transmit your data as a wireless microphone. You do not need this puppy directly. So that's also useful. So for many people, they might be just like, hey, I do not need this or one extra of this. Just they will buy one piece, done, go home. And thankfully that's available as an option. Now, what about battery life? If you have only the mic system, in principle, that puppy should last around 6 hours. And if you keep charging it, topping up with a case, the maximum you should get is around 18 hours, which is okay. That is very clear. It's good. So what are the core upgrade? The core upgrade is 32-bit float. So basically you're not gonna have clipping. Now, why the heck we have clipping? Well, here's the 24-bit in principle, in mathematics has huge range, but here's the problem. You do not want your baseline, as in like electrical noise, what we call noise floor, to be very close to the actual audio signal. You always want a huge gap, which we call signal to noise ratio. You want a strong signal. So what we do, we increase the gain, so signal becomes strong. But here's the, that's awesome. Signal is clean, crisp, clear, awesome. But here's the, if the volume increases a little bit, basically microphone gives a very loud signal, amplifier amplifies it based on your setting, but now it clips the analog to digital converter. So digital converter simply sends blank data, as in it clips, there is no data there. So all it will show is a blank 0 dB, which we call clipping. So that's a very bad thing. So solution is go into 32-bit, so you have more range. But here's the deal, what they did is 32-bit, there is two types of 32-bit. You have 32-bit linear, that is just 24-bit with more range, or 32-bit float. Now, benefit of float is that it's folded from 0. It starts to still stores the data is still transmitted. You can still have 0 dB clipping, but because it's a float, there is a negative sign above 0. So you press negative, folds the data over, and now you can, in your digital audio editing software, you can just, oh, audio is clipped here, select that area, bring it down, audio comes back. So it's a basically very clever way of utilizing more data range while maintaining compatibility with older system, and do not have a hassle of like, where the heck is the audio signal? Because 32-bit range is huge. So if you have 0 dB, which again is just for our convenience kind of thing, it's a very clever way of doing it. Now, this became a very big deal in recent time, especially after Zoom F6, if I'm not mistaken. That was the first device that made it mainstream. Now, how proper way of doing it is you're gonna have two A to DC, meaning you're gonna have a microphone signal, you're gonna have a two amplifier or two analog to digital converter. What you're gonna, one would be calm, one would be like designed for loud noises, so it will be very calm. It will only amplify a strong signal. One would be sensitive, which will like whispering and all that. Now, here's the deal, that two signal, in older days of Hollywood recording, what they had is the same thing, but they recorded two channels. So engineers will, audio engineers at the other end, if they find one to be clipping, they will manually switch over. But nowadays, we had a 32-bit float recording. With some mathematics, they figured a way out of smashing these two audio in one file. You only had one file. So that's a proper way of doing it. And be mindful, 2 or analog to digital converter is not the limit. 2 can give you more than enough range for any microphone. But here's the each analog to digital converter, no matter which brand makes it, always have a certain optimum range. Meaning if audio is in this zone, it's butter. But if you go above this, it's like, okay, it's not bad. Let that be very clear. Not bad. Completely better than the clipped audio. But it will be like, you know what, it's losing some essence. So some microphones that are pro end, like from Rode microphone, it has 4 analog to digital converter. So analog audio comes in, it gets amplified on 4 stages, and then it gets converted to digital. And there is a program that switches it based on the optimum setting. Basically, you're gonna get crisp, clear, without any issue. Now here's the deal, whenever company actually has 2 analog to digital converter, they never shut up about it. But when the company says it has 32-bit float and does not actually have 2 analog to digital converter, yeah. So I'm reasonably sure as of now, as more time have passed, is that neither Rode nor this has actual 32-bit converter on this. So what they have is just 32-bit linear analog to digital converter, which most converters are nowadays 32-bit linear. They are just mathematically folding the data. So is that better than 24-bit? Yes, but a little bit. It's not true HDR, meaning if you had like a proper Zoom series system or proper Tascam series or DAT microphone where it has true 32-bit, you'll be like, damn. But this will be better than 24-bit, but not like, whoa. So it's like, I would say this should give you a better experience than your current mic setup, but do not expect like, whoa. That whoa happens if you have 2 analog to digital converter. So keep your expectation a bit more realistic. Now be mindful, in average day-to-day use cases, you do not have to worry about it. But it's one of those things that's like, yeah, you just like confused. And I see way too many people do not understand you need analog to digital converter, multiple of them. Otherwise, that 32-bit float is useless. We do not have a technology to make one analog to digital converter that's like, I got this. We don't have the technology. That's why you need multiple analog to digital converter. I told you, like Rode itself makes a microphone that has 4 of them. And be mindful, that's like thousands of dollars. So it's good, but not like whoa. Now it has a bit bigger screen compared to the previous version, and it has a knob. Now screen, let's look at the reality of it. It's a tiny thing. I'm pretty sure it must be from some smartwatch. It's not that great. And so to solve that issue, it's like how the heck you're gonna navigate it. They have a knob, and knob is much easier to use, much easier to navigate. It's like somebody sat down and thought about it. It's like how the heck you're gonna use it, because you can see like it's a female finger. Imagine a dude finger. It's like, dude, it's gonna cover the display. So having a knob makes it much easier to use. And it has much bigger magnet. I think somebody must have complained on the last version. It was like, dude, magnet is not strong enough. And the clip is also thicker. Now, does that matter? Yes. If you worked with magnet, you know magnet does not work very well if you are attaching it onto a thin metal. If it has thick metal, then it's like, wham. If it's thin metal. So what Rode has is like a plastic clip, then you put a metal shoe on it that grabs with magnet. That's really sloppy implementation. Here you have a full thick metal steel basically clip, and then you have magnet. So marriage between those two are very strong, very robust. So in this time you can have a bit higher trust on the magnet system compared to the last version or compared to the Rode system. And it has preset for camera brands, because there is way too many digital conversion and digital to analog conversion, because cameras cannot progress beyond 1970. Like back in that 1970 we had a mini disc in late 80s, and somebody figured out, hey, what if you had digital signal transmission, digital audio, so you no longer need to convert it, just store it directly. We had it back in the old days, before CD was a thing, before MP3 was invented. We had this technology. Imagine that technology where we no longer had to like, okay, this receives the digital signal, it converts that digital signal into analog signal, transmits it over analog wire, and then your camera converts that analog to digital again, and then you are like, hey dude, why the heck my noise floors are going up? You have so many conversion. If it was digital, only one conversion will happen with your microphone. Done. Now, is that an solution? Yes, there is a certain professional streams and some Blackmagic camera do have that, but majority don't. And that's truly tragic. That truly hurts me. It's like, dude, imagine evolving to 1990s technology. We should have freaking USB audio in all cameras by now. And be mindful, many Android smartphone and Apple have this option already. Digital audio transfer. You do not have to convert it, reconvert it, convert it, recover. It's just digital audio. Done. Solved. But it has preset for camera, so amplification, because each camera brand has a unique signature. Panasonic's are a bit hot, Sony's require a bit of a cooler signal, like there is some EQ tuning and gain setting. So preset allows it to be much easier rather than like you figuring out how to set it. So there are genuine upgrades. 32-bit is the biggest upgrade, but I would say temper your experience. Do not expect like, whoa. It would be better than the 24, but not compared to like a Pro 32-bit which has multiple A to DC. Bigger magnet, that will be a big impact. Bigger screen, easier to use UI, that would be awesome. Easy to use camera. If you switch multiple cameras, then you like shut up, take money just for that. So what about usability? Now I have paid attention to DJI and their rise in the ecosystem, where they are already fighting with GoPro in one end, they are fighting with camera companies on the other end. So how the heck they are winning so much? How is that even possible? Well, they figured out one thing. Performance means nothing if it's hard to use. And everything about this device screams somebody sat down and designed a usability in it. Everything about it. The fact that knob is so thoroughly designed is like, oh, somebody thought of it. What if you have thick fingers and you have a tiny screen? It would be much better to have a knob. It's like, somebody thought of it. So that's really good. And then it also has built-in noise cancellation. Now, like, professional never use noise cancellation. Yeah, that is true. But here's the professional is never going to buy this sort of devices. You may think this is expensive, but this is chump change in audio industry. Look at the price of Scorpion recorders. Look at the price of Zoom 32-bit recorders, proper ones. These will look free in comparison. So why the heck this insistence of like, no, we're going to give you the clean sound? It's like, what if you give me a process sound? They're like, hey, we have clean and we have noise cancellation. You need clean, enjoy it clean. If you're like, hey, I need something, just I plug in, it works, built-in noise cancellation. So in terms of usability, that's there. Now they have put motors there. I never understood why the heck you put motors inside it. There's like, it's a haptic feedback system, meaning they realize it. If it's here and you're not seeing it, how the heck will you know whether you have clicked it and it has registered a click? It will vibrate. It will give you a feedback. It's like somebody thought of it. What if the device tells you that you have done something with it? It's like, I never have thought of it. So it's a really easy to use, and direct Bluetooth audio transfer. Now be mindful, it's a lower bit rate. So if you have your iPhone and you are directly transmitting audio there, it will work, but it may require some third-party camera app. Not all native camera apps allows audio injection from other system, but it should work in most camera. Third-party definitely will work. It will be a bit lower quality. However, it will be much better than anything else. It will be much better than, especially if your mobile phone is a little bit far away, it would be exponentially better than, directly here. So it is more than enough useful to justify it. And on top of that, all this equipment already uses Bluetooth band. So it's like, why not just add that extra firmware layer which allows you to use Bluetooth directly? And it is also GG scratch audio, meaning if you are using a microphone and it's very noisy, you're still recording it, and you have a 32-bit recording on the body itself. So in post-production, you will be like, okay, the bitrate, I'm not happy with it, I need more quality. You have 32-bit file, and it's perfectly synced. Why? You have a perfect scratch audio. You do not have to worry about it. And the clip does have a notch cut out into it. I think somebody in the mid-design phase was like, oh, we should have had threaded jack. But if they didn't, it's like, okay, what if we put a notch in the metal clip where you can fold your lavalier wire and clip it there? Benefit would be it will not slip out. Oops will not happen. Poor implementation, but better. Like, it does show that somebody at least thought of it. And direct link with Osmo Pocket 3 and other cameras also. Action 4, pardon me. Action 4 also has it. So it's now, I think, reasonably to expect that all the DJI action cams that are going to come in the future would more or less have direct, integration with Bluetooth. It's like, hey, you want awesome, you have 32-bit on board. You want just good enough, you have a quality Bluetooth option. You do not even need to have this puppy. And when you have this puppy, they are also working their ass off. You can see Sony, Canon, Nikon. So you can just select which camera brand it has, which model it has. It will have a perfect gain setting. Now, will it be absolutely perfect? Hell no. Will it be better than nothing? Undeniably so. Would it make your life easier? Absolutely. That's the whole point. Everything about this camera, basically this audio setup, is like, I shall make your life easier. So how does it compare against its biggest rival, that is Wireless Pro 32-bit? Now be mindful, price wise they are very close to each other. Rode is a bit more expensive, but you do get a lavalier microphone in the box. So more or less the same price, exactly the same price. So the biggest difference that I find a bit lacking on the DJI side is that it has 8 GB of internal memory. Nowadays, that's not be mindful. The footprint of the NAND flash is exactly the same in both of them. So 8 GB to 32 GB, I'm like, dude, you could have bought 16. 8 GB is a bit tight. It's like this. It's a bit tight. It's not desirable. I'm like, come on, you should have a bit more. So that would be a big jump. That would be a very big jump between 8 GB and 32 GB. Meaning in 32 GB, you can record upwards of 40 hours. Meaning it can be a very good archive backup for you. Then the case design of Rode is far more clever. Why? Rode is utilizing the same USB-C port rather than having two ports. What you have in DJI, you have USB-C for data transmission, and then you have contact pins that allows them to just drop it in the box and just forget about it. Now contact pins really good, easy to use, but does not have data transmission. So in DJI's box, you can just drop it, charge it. Here you drop it, you charge it, and you can transmit signal from it. So meaning if you have two recordings and like, hey, I want to read data or manage settings, you can just do it. Basically, if you are working on a laptop setting, it will be like, hey, I put it here, I'm charging using my laptop while transferring data. So the case experience on Rode is far more refined, one would say. On another aspect is that this is a poor design on DJI side. I do get it, like USB jack, that was a what you call a handshake issue, where it's like, do we add this extra electronics to do that or not? I get it, but not having the ability to put wind muffs while you are closing the box, that's just dumb. That's just like, no sir, no, that I will not allow. That was not a good design. This actually they have learned from the mistakes. It's like, hey, if you're using wind muff like I am using, you may want to use the wind muff in the box itself. You may be like, hey, I do not want to split both of them apart. I do not want to cause wear and tear on them unnecessarily. It's like, hey, what if you just put it there and the box closes? This was a design oversight on DJI side. I will like, I understand the USB handshake part. That would have required extra wiring, PCB designs, handshake chip, because remember, you are talking about 3 things. You cannot just have, wire to wire connection. It's not power. You need data signal. So you need a routing chip for that, or like basically USB hub chip. So I do understand the box is electronically far more complex in Rode, but box size, that's just oversight. That's like flat out, I am not happy with that. That's like, dude, wind muff should have been there. You do not want the ability, oh, we can, it's not that hard. Here's the deal. Every step that you have to do unnecessarily most likely leads to either wear and tear on the wind muff, or most likely you're gonna forget the wind muff itself. So it's one of those things. And it does have basic time code. That again, if you are in a field where you need time code, you are like, shut up, take money. I do not give a damn about DJI's easy use because I need time code. If you are in one of those scenarios, you will pay for it. It's as simple as that. You need time code, you will pay for it. You don't need it, you won't care. It has a locking check, which again is a good design function. I do like the idea because it's a common system in Sennheisers, DAT, Scorpions, and all that jazz. It's like, just put a goddamn, locking jack. It's like you really do not want to be in a shoot or wedding or where it's like, oops, because the cable came out. So it's one of those things, like little bit. However, while I am using Rode itself, you have to understand Rode is, in terms of usability, it's hard to use. It's like, it's tough to use. They have like, what if you press 2 buttons at the same time, then you press 3 buttons like this. It's tough to use. It's like Casio watch. It's tough to, you have to do like that. It's very tough to use. And most of the time, it will give you a feeling that's like they are expecting you to just pair your Android phone or iOS phone and then use that. That's not acceptable in many circles. Right? They're like, dude, it's a device. Let's say it's audio device. It should work on its own. It should not require me to, oh, do I have a phone or not? So for many people, that's like a bit turn off. Even in terms of how you transfer the data, it's like Rode requires an application, while DJI is just like, dude, it's a memory device. Read the file out of it. So there are certain cases where Rode is a bit more grading to use. So what about audio quality? Let this be very clear. At this price range, you are not in the pro audio territory. So if those people are complaining about this, what the hell are you doing? And if you're coming from bottom up, it's more than good enough. Meaning both of them will give you more than enough quality that you will reach into territory which we call signature. Do you like the feel of DJI microphones, or do you like the feel of Rode Wireless Go? So it's more of feel. Like some will say, hey, Rode feels a bit more natural. Some will say, hey, DJI feels a bit more boofy, and I like that. Like it has that podcast, so it's less tiring and all that. Like again, that's up to you. That's the signature part of it. That's why we have so many singers. We do not have one singer on the planet. We have millions of singers. That's the whole point. Everybody has different taste, different resonance. So if you are like, hey, I like a Rode, I'm gonna buy it, no problem. If you're like, hey, I like DJI, I'm gonna buy DJI, no problem. You do not have to justify it. If you like the signature, you like the signature. You don't like the signature, you don't like the signature. You do not have to worry about it. So how can I simplify? Well, pro functions versus easy to use. Now, let's say you are a novice. What will I ask you to use? Well, shut up by DJI. Trust me, 99% of the time you will not use advanced functions. And yes, the case is one of those things that I would say, DJI, come on, you are so close of making a proper case, but it was like, so it's one of those things, I would say. But for majority of people, a Rode Wireless Pro may not be a well-suited device, while DJI Mic 2 will satisfy majority of people. And while it does have time code, it's not a pro level time code implementation. So it's a sloppy implementation at that. So many people are like, dude, what's the point of half implementation? So it's one of those things. One has pro functions, another is easy to use. Always choose easy to use. And quality, let this be very clear, quality is like very close to each other. So this was my presentation on DJI Mic 2. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.